It is great to be here on vlog 180 as we have cruised past the 30,000 subscriber mark. My thanks to those of you who have helped make that happen. Before we get into the action today, I've got to tell you about something that I am extremely excited about. Now, I have never before told you guys that you should come to Reno, Nevada, where I live. I wouldn't say it if I didn't have a great reason to say it. And I am very excited about the fact that I now do. The PEPPERMILL Poker Palooza is set for October the 21st through the 31st. It's the first tournament series that's been held at the PEPPERMILL since the pandemic, and it is going to be absolutely huge. Over $750,000 in guarantees. And really the thing about PEPPERMILL tournament series that you should know is they tend to be a little different, and they tend to be, as people like Chad Holloway and others that have come out for these things will tell you about, tend to be a lot of fun with the types of tournaments they put on. There's a mystery bounty event. I will be in that event, by the way. And then you have smaller events, like there's a mixed game tournament, and there's a tournament that's all in or fold. And I'm going to play that just because it sounds fun. So if you are interested in this, I hope you will come out here. It'll be 10 days of poker action, wrapping up with an $880 main event that is going to be huge. And I'm fired up to be able to say that we will be giving away a seat to that main event to one of my subscribers. Check back in next week for the details on how to win it. And if you're interested in coming here for the Poker Palooza, obviously to play in the tournaments or just to enjoy the cash game action, which will be my main focus, of course, as it always is, you'll want to stay at the PEPPERMILL. Trust me, Reno, Nevada, the other options are not nearly as good. And if you do book your stay, you will get 20% off of that stay just by using promo code DEECH. We have a link in the description below. Let's head over there and play some poker.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go.
I'd make the drive into PEPPERMILL on a smoky Thursday afternoon in Reno. Living here is nice, as you don't have to worry about hurricanes or tornadoes, but fire smoke in August and September is definitely a regular thing. The smoke may have been unfortunate, but there were some good poker podcasts this week. One of them I haven't mentioned before. It's a free podcast that I just started listening to called Third Man Walking. Great insights from LA Cash Game pro Charlie Wilmoth. And of course, there was another great episode of Hand Breakdowns by Bart Hansen on the Crush Live Poker Podcast, which you can get a discount on by using the link below. It was a week where I saw something I'd never seen before in my game, a player losing with quads, but not triggering the bad beat jackpot. That's because the player who rivered the straight flush only used one of his two cards, and both must be used in order to qualify. I'd get into the poker room to find a 5-10 game going, but I'm fourth on the list, which is not ideal, as discussed. So after about an hour wait, I finally get into the game on table 1 and buy in for $1,000 in a game where 50% of my opponents were wearing flannel for whatever reason. I thought it was supposed to be Flannel Friday, not Flannel Thursday. Anyway, the unfortunate part was one of those happened to be the pro MC, who is literally incapable of making a statement that isn't political, and is so tilting to have to constantly listen to him hour after hour when he's in this game, droning on about whatever he feels like bitching about. I'm sure you guys all have a guy like that in your game. Anyway, the first hand to show comes when an older gentleman, who I didn't know, raises to 40 from MP2, and I have ace deuce of diamonds on the button and make the call. To my surprise, the straddle and big blind fold, so with 95 in, it comes 7-5-3 with one diamond. He bets out for 70, and with a gut shot, overcard, and backdoor nut flush draw, I elect to come along. With 235 in, the turn is the king of hearts, and now he decides to check. This was part of my plan. Should this occur, I'm obviously going to bluff at it. I fire 125 here, expecting this to get through the majority of the time, and sure enough, it does indeed work. I lose back about 100, flopping a pair and a straight draw and breaking out, and that brings us to a hand against the Pro MC. And again, we call him that because he has the attitude of an OMC, but he plays I'm not going to say as good as a pro, but he is tough to get money out of. I will give him credit for that. In this hand, he makes it 45 from MP2, and a short stack calls in the cutoff. I have pocket sixes in the big blind, which is an obvious call here. So with 150 in it comes 9, 6-4 rainbow, giving me middle set. I check, MP2 bets out for 100, and the short stack goes all in for less. Now my hope was that smooth calling and leading turn would keep him in the hand with a hand as weak as pocket tens. If he just has ace-king, I don't expect him to fire a second barrel too often anyway, so that will give him the chance to catch up and not allow me to raise him out of the pot here now if that's what he has. So I just make the call, and with 415 in the turn is a deuce. I bet 100, which is less than a quarter of the pot, meaning that any overpair that he has is probably going to call here, but I feel safe to say that he did not have one of those as he ends up snap folding. I never got to look at the cutoff's hand, but obviously our set is good enough to take down the pot. By the way, the rock that you see in the game serves as the straddle reminder.
Welcome to the rock.
And my analysis has led me to believe that roughly 38% of the time you're in that straddle, you pick up 8 deuce. Test it out. I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. Which, in all seriousness, did happen to me 3 times on this particular day in the straddle. I lose back 65 to that opponent I just mentioned in the next hand, as I called him with 2 black 8s and got a jack deuce 3 all club flop. He ended up checking flop and jamming his last 160 on the turn in a spot where I definitely could have called, but opted not to. Then I call a raise with queen jack of clubs and flop a flush draw. My plan was to check raise semi-bluff the flop, but he didn't bet, and I'd end up bluffing turn, and when the river bricked out, I bluffed again and got called by pocket 9s. So that was unfortunate. Then I defended 10 more in the straddle with the Octo Crab. Amazingly, I'd go on to flop second pair, and that was clearly the best hand, as he folded to my turn bet pretty quickly. Then I flopped a straight with a straight flush draw, but there was a problem. It was against arguably the tightest player in the history of Reno poker, which, by the way, is saying something. He did call my $10 flop bet, and then went on to lead out for 30 on a turn that came at 10, but folded to my $50 raise. I then went over to grab some dinner next door at Oceano, and if any of you that are going to come here for the PEPPERMILL Poker Palooza in October want a food recommendation, I would suggest the salmon salad. It's a healthy option, and it is the best freaking salmon you will ever eat. I can guarantee you that. Then we get a weird hand. The low jack limps, and the button, with only $310 in a stack, raises to 50. I'm in the big blind with pocket jacks here. Obviously, 3-betting is a fine play, but given how tight the game had been over the last hour, I opted to just call and hope to see a safe flop before doubling this short stack up. However, the limper threw a monkey wrench into the whole thing by limp raising to 250. The button quickly folds his hand and preserves the rest of that short stack I just mentioned, but then it's back on me. I did not know this opponent at all, and I'd seen him a few times over the past week, and I'd never actually seen him get out of line one time, so this was a tricky spot. But ultimately, after thinking about it, the limp raise in this game tends to be strength the vast majority of the time, so I tank folded pocket jacks, and he turned over pocket queens, so I escaped without any further damage. This is a mid-session update. I have spent some money that I've won at poker to upgrade my sunglasses game. Those other ones just didn't look good at all. You're not wrong, Caesar. The game was not great, so I decided to switch tables, and as you'll see, things got a little better. I raised to 25 with Jack 9 of clubs plus 1 and get action from the big blind. He's not a guy who drives to the casino to fold too many hands, last time I checked. With 60 in, I flopped the nuts, which was kind of cool. He checks, and I bet 30, and true to form, he makes the call. With 120 in, the turn is the single last card I wanted to see in the deck. It's the Jack of Spades, and now he checks. Despite the bad card, this is clearly still a bet with a flop straight, so I make one, putting in 40. He calls, so with 200 in, the river is an absolutely disgusting card. Now, I'm really hoping that he checks here, and he does, so I just turn over my hand, obviously, and he tables pocket fives with the 5 of spades for a runner flush. I picked up the 5-7 and flopped trip sevens. I got a bunch of money in and ended up chopping against 7-6. By the way, on this day, I gave zero consideration to playing the 10-20 game, as the lineup was absolutely terrible. Likely why there was a seat open in that game the majority of the night. And then that takes us to this hand. We had a lawyer in the game who clearly was not an experienced poker player. He actually asked the table if anyone was about to get divorced. I told him that I'd already taken care of that last year, and his search for potential clients came to an end rather quickly. In this hand, he's in the winner's straddle on the hijack. Now, it's a sleeper straddle, so if someone raises in front of him, the action is then on him. But if no one raises in front of him, then he gets last action. Some of you don't like this format. I happen to think it's a really good format. In this case, an older gentleman limps +1, so it would skip him. But he still tries to check his option anyway. I have pocket nines in the cutoff, and I'm obviously going to be raising here over a straddle, so I make it 35. Normally I'd raise it to even a bigger sizing, but this game had been playing pretty tight on the day. That's why I sized down a little bit. +1 calls, and now after his attempted check, the straddle 3-bets to 80. Now that is truly bizarre. Now I think actually, by the letter of the law, he's not allowed to do that. But in this case, I really didn't care. I'm happy to call this $80 with pocket nines. I wouldn't realize just how happy I would be until a couple of minutes later. The other player in the hand comes along as well, so we're 3 ways in a $245 pot to a flop that comes slightly above average. +1 checks, and the hijack bets out for 75. Obviously, I just call here, as I'm assuming all of you would as well, wanting to keep the other player in the hand, and that does happen as he makes the call. So with 470 in, the turn is the 3 of diamonds, and now it gets checked to me. Wanting to continue to keep both of these opponents in the hand, I decide to bet small. I make it $125, and sure enough, they both call. With 720 in, the river is the Queen of Hearts, and it gets checked to me again. By this point, I had to believe the player on my right had an ace. And if he did, I should bet big, because there's no way, based on what I've seen out of this lawyer to this point, that he's going to be wanting to fold an ace. So I decide to bet 400 into a pot of 720. +1 snap folds, and it's definitely possible that he snap folded an ace, but I don't think so. The hijack then turns over his hand, and to my chagrin, there wasn't an ace in it. He has pocket jacks. Don't forget, he initially wanted to check pre-flop. In this case, he does make the correct fold, so I don't get the river payoff, but we take down a nice pot regardless, and a small bonus tax refund to go along with it. Chiefs Chargers then comes on what is a big game for me, because half of my fantasy team against a lot of guys at PEPPERMILL is made up of Chiefs. Unfortunately, my 2 receivers would not do anything in this. I'd spend the next 3 hours of play completely incapable of getting dealt the best hand. I open ace-king of diamonds and, per usual, don't flop anything. That didn't stop me from bluffing flop and turn and losing about $230 to a player who had slow-played pocket kings. Then I'm under the gun with this straddle, and 3 guys limp in. I have ace-jack, and this is a clear spot to raise and try and take the pot down. So I make it $75, expecting for that to occur, but to my surprise, the button decides to limp call the 75. And with 185 in, the flop is queen high. I decided to follow through with the $90 bet here. I was unsure if I should do it or not, but ultimately I decided to. And then I regretted that in a hurry as he announces 220. I fold the hand, losing nearly 200 in a hand that really seemed like I should have just won $35, but sometimes it doesn't go as it seems like it should. I kept grinding but couldn't get anything going and found myself just unable to get action on the few times I did have a big hand over the next 2 hours. So the vlog does not end in the most spectacular or sexy fashion, but after an 8-hour session, I still managed to rack up and book a $291 win. All right, wrapping up a session in the north parking lot. By the way, the new signage on the side of the Peppermill, complete there, but as we'll see, the sign above the entryway, still the outdated lettering. I'm guessing that'll be updated soon. Got to record this outro in my car because it is once again too windy for my camera, and pretty disappointed in myself, in all honesty, booking a much smaller win than I would have expected to be booking here because, well, I guess I do stand by betting 400 on the river there with quads, because if that guy had an ace, he would have called. Not every player would have, and the other player in the hand may have folded an ace, though I'm not 100% sure of that. But if he had an ace, he would have called. So I guess I stand by that, but I've been trying not to make the mistake of betting too much with the nuts on the river. It's been a bit of an issue in some spots lately, and I'm also trying to make the mistake of not bluffing off chips in spots I don't need to, and well, I guess that $90 continuation bet on that queen high board with my ace jack was unnecessary because it's the exact kind of bluff I don't want to make. Only one overcard, not even sure that it's good if it hits. I don't block anything, so he can have quite a wide range of hands there that aren't going to fold. But that said, I was still surprised that I even got a call going to that particular flop. So, another interesting day here at the Peppermill.
Go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange.
All right, so a good week poker-wise, and by the way, another great week for me as a parent. I just have to mention this story just because it was heartwarming for me. I was reading my son, who's 2.5 now, this book. It's got like the animals and the parent animal and the child animal, and I'm turning through them and I'm reading to him, and he just stops and he says, "It's you and me." And I was just like, my boy. It was a great feeling. It really was, as those of you parents know. And his development's just been phenomenal to watch here of late, that's for sure. All right, consider getting out here to Reno for the Peppermill Poker Palooza in October. If you've been watching this vlog for years, at some point, you had to have thought to yourself, you know, at some point I'm going to get to Reno. Well, this is the perfect opportunity to do so. And check out the Peppermill, check out the cash game action, and fire what should be some really fun tournaments. 20% off rooms by using promo code Deech. Hit the like and subscribe buttons and follow me on Instagram at Ben Deech, and I'll see you back here next time.
Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before. And even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go, go, go.